Hi everyone, how has it been? I know it's been a while and I know that some of you are gradually returning to work. I hope that you and your families are safe. 2020, what a year with the pandemic and now with the riots. So please do your best in doing whatever you can to stay safe with you and your loved ones. Now, I want to continue from the video that we talked about last time where we introduced the present perfect tense. Can you tell me why do we use the present perfect tense? Well, for one, right, as a review, we use it to talk about an action. So this is the present, and this is the past, and this is for the present perfect. Okay, so one thing we need to keep in mind is the present perfect often is used to talk about something that happens in an unspecified time, right? And the form of using the present perfect, right, is we need to use has or have, depending on the subject, plus the past participle, which there's a lot of them, right? I'm just going to say PP. Now, if something happened some point in the past, but I'm not exactly telling you when, so for example, your mom comes home and asks, hey, did you clean your room? Did you do your homework? And you're like, I have finished my homework and I have cleaned my room. But are you telling me exactly when? No, right? I just know it happened sometime in the past, but I don't really know when. Or you ask me, hey, have you seen the new Marvel movie? And I say, yes, I have seen it. But you don't know when. So maybe you ask me more specific questions by using the simple past. When did you see it? Oh, I saw it a month ago, right? For example. Now, it could be used for an unspecified time. Now, this is important because sometimes the action is completed and done, right? I have finished my homework. It happened in the past. It's done. I'm not telling you when, but it's complete. Now, sometimes the present perfect has many uses. Sometimes it's an action that can be repeated and kind of continued into the present or affects us now, right? So if I say, for example, I have been sick for 2 weeks, like we did in our previous video, right? That means 2 weeks ago I started feeling sick and the action's still continuing, right? Or sometimes it's for a repeated action, like I have traveled to Europe 5 times. I wish. But let's just say in these 5 times, you know it happened in the past, but most likely it's going to be a continued or repeated action that is going to continue into the present, maybe into the future as well, right? So that quickly summarizes what we talked about in our last video. Now, what about the present perfect continuous? As you may have guessed, present perfect continuous is an action that's continuing from the past into the present, right? That's our key word. So if we look at this timeline, and this is the present, and this is the past. Let me write this in a different color. So, the past and the present. Okay, one key difference in how to use this is we have has or have, just like we did before, plus been. This is our past participle, okay? Plus our gerund, a verb and ing. This is the continuing part, right? The present participle. This is what we call it. Now, if I say, okay, I have been waiting in line for 3 hours. Ridiculous. It's a long time. So I'm telling you, hey, exactly 3 hours ago, I was standing in this line, and guess what? I'm still waiting. So much time has passed. Sometimes you can use the present perfect continuous to communicate something that expresses more emotion, like anger. Usually if you're waiting for a long time, you probably will use the present perfect continuous. Now, there's no problem in you using the present perfect. You could say, I've waited for 3 hours for you, right? The idea communicated is quite similar. But with the present perfect continuous, it kind of emphasizes like that, how long you've been waiting, right? Now, present perfect continuous compared to the present perfect, there's actually some cases where there's an overlap. So let's take a look at that. There's actually some overlap in the present perfect and present perfect continuous, meaning that there's this kind of shared space where these verbs have equal meaning. It doesn't matter if I use the present perfect or present perfect continuous. So for example, live. I have lived in California for 5 years. I have been living in California for 5 years. No difference. It means exactly the same thing. Or I could say work. I have worked at Google. I have been working at Google, right? Same. Study. I've studied for my exam for the last 3 weeks. It's a big exam. I have been studying for my exam. Equal meaning, no difference. Teach. I've taught English for 10 years. I've been teaching English for 10 years. Last one, wear. So I've worn the same shirt for 3 days. Ew. Or I've been wearing the same shirt for 3 days. Again, same meaning, no difference. These are good to remember. These 5 most common, especially live and work. They're interchangeable. You can use the present perfect or present perfect continuous. There's no problem in that. Now let's take a look. Let's try to put all of this past tense knowledge together. Later, in the later videos, we're going to talk about the past perfect because there's so many different verb tenses in English, right? But for now, let's keep it to these. These are the most commonly used, especially in speaking. So we're going to take a look at some examples for the simple past, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. Take a look at this little paragraph that I wrote. You have 3 options to choose from the simple past, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. I would like for you to pause this video and try to figure out what verb tense best fits in each blank. When you're ready, unpause the video and we will review the answers together. Okay, so ever since, right, this is a key word that I know will be in some sort of connection, most likely to the present perfect. But present perfect is a reference from some point in the past, right? Since is a point in the past. So ever since the be verb, okay, ever since I was young, I move every year to a new country. In this case, I would say I have moved. I have moved every year to a new country. In 1992, so specific date. That way I know I'm going to use a simple past because I'm giving you exact time. I traveled, right? Only 1 L, not 2, because look at that. Travel. The stress is here. Even though this is consonant, vowel consonant, no doubling because the stress is here. I traveled to France and, same thing, lived there for 6 months. The experience, okay, so this experience in 1992 changed my life radically, extremely. So since then, since that experience, study, okay. So study, we have a choice. I could use present perfect or present perfect continuous because it's equal meaning. Maybe I'll use present perfect continuous. I'm going to say, I've been studying. I've been studying French to become more fluent. So I know when you put it all together, sometimes it can kind of confuse you. Right now, this isn't too bad, but when we start putting in the past perfect, I know things can look a little bit more complicated. So I want you to do your best in understanding specifically how these two are different. There's overlap, there's similarities between these two, but you need to understand when you use the simple past and when you use the present perfect, okay? You know, since March, right, with this coronavirus going on, I've been hearing a lot of people ask these common questions, you know, especially within my circle of friends and family. And they're using the simple past, present perfect continuous. So let's take a look at just some questions. Like I often, like my neighbor will say, hey, how have you been? You can say, hey, how have you been? Just in general. Or how have you been doing? Which is almost the same meaning, right? Just in general, like, or you could say, hey, what have you been doing lately? What have you been doing lately, right? Now that everyone's staying in, how do you pass that time, right? Other ones, when using the simple past, every time my brother will ask me, hey, did you get everything you were looking for at the store? Because he can't find soap or toilet paper, right? Like everyone. Or, have the coronavirus numbers risen? Have they gone up, right? My friend that I keep in touch with every day, she will keep me posted on this. And she will tell me how the numbers have continued to escalate, right? So I know this is a difficult time with so much going on in our world and for us to be kind of locked indoors, but use this as an opportunity to really kind of hone in and strengthen your grammar skills and any English, especially conversation. This is the time to do it. Now that everyone's home and everyone's eager to socialize, and I'm here for you, right? Like I said, I have no problem. I would love to have a big Zoom party with all my students where we can practice these kinds of conversational skills using grammar, asking me anything that's covered in any of the YouTube videos or something you've thought of recently. And in the coming weeks, I'm also going to be posting videos specifically on pronunciation with that schwa sound. If you're not familiar with that, don't worry about it, but we're going to look more into it soon. Okay? Take care, everyone. Thank you.